Hey, what's going on? It is Rad with another awesome episode of SOFREP Radio. Just like the shirt, if you're watching, says SOFREP, Special Operation Forces Report. And today, besides the book club that I'm going to tell you about, go check out our book club, sofrep.com, book-club, get into the books. We might have our next guest book in the library of book clubs if he'll allow us. And that is Rick Kaiser, Master Chief, Underwater Demolition Team, Navy SEAL, Frogman. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. The book has been it's kind of a controversial thing in the SEAL world to write a book.
Right.
So not all my friends even know I wrote a book, which is good.
Well, it's called Frogman Stories, and I'm sure there has to be something that, inspires the youth of yesterday to be the frogman of today, whether it's, Jacques Cousteau, right? Talking about his underwater adventures and, or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, what's under the sea, right? And there you go. So How old were you? Let me ask you this. Let's get right into that. How old were you when you decided you wanted to join?
I was, born and raised in south of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I think I always had the fascination with the water and the ocean. And like you were talking about with Jacques Cousteau, I loved watching the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. And I thought my best way to get to that would be joining the Navy. And so I was 16 actually when I went into the Navy recruiter's office and thought that I wanted to go into submarines and be a submariner. And on his desk, he had a little pamphlet. This is back in late 70s, a little pamphlet on Navy SEALs. And I'd never even heard of that before, right? And it was about 5 pages, and it had just pictures of SEALs doing SEAL things, right? Shooting and jumping and diving and doing all this cool stuff. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. So I took the pamphlet home, thought about it for a couple of days, and went back to the recruiter and said, this is what I want to do. Sign me up.
Was there an indoctrination class, or did you go straight from like basic training into the,
well,
the
back
BUDS
when I
program?
did it, it's a lot different now.
The course?
But when I did it, yes, I joined the Navy. You go to boot camp. I went to Orlando, Florida, and then went to a school, which is the Navy's basic training to learn a skill. So if I failed to become a SEAL, which 70% do, I could go to the fleet and use my trade that I had learned at A school to, serve the Navy. So in my case, I went to hull technician A school in Philadelphia, which was basically learning how to weld and firefight and stuff like that. And then I went from there to BUDS. So it took me about, 6 months from the time I did boot camp A school before I got to BUDS.
What advice do you have to my young listener who's, deciding that they want to go there, but, they might deal with like being homesick at boot camp? What did you ever experience like that loss of like,
oh, I sure did.
What am I doing
think everybody
here with myself?
does, especially on the first day. I'd never even been on an airplane before, and they flew me from Milwaukee to Orlando. And so that was, the first shock when your ears don't clear because you're not sure what you're doing on the plane. And then you get in there and then you're just, proceed to get yelled at by the instructors and, get a haircut and everything else. So it's a shock. And yeah, so I think I felt that in the first, day or two. And then it's, you're pretty busy after that and you stop feeling sorry for yourself. And their main goal is to make sure that every minute of your day is filled with something, right? So you're not bored and you're not lonely and you don't want to quit.
Right.
Exactly.
You want to sleep when you sleep. You're like not staying awake. You're like, I'm out. Yeah. Well, I love to hear that. And my listener out there, if you're on the fence about, taking the next step, you should just go to a career counselor at your local recruiting station and you talk to them and see if it is the next step for you. You might see a pamphlet. You might have thought one thing, and then you see the pamphlet and think another thing. You're like, hey, and there's nothing wrong with getting welding trade, firefighting trade. A need of the Navy sounds ominous. It's like, oh no, I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing laundry all
No,
day as leader of the Navy, but hey,
I run the
someone needs
Navy
to do
SEAL
the,
Museum
go ahead.
in Fort Pierce, Florida, and in San Diego. And I advise young people every day because they don't have a lot of contact with military people, especially not so much in San Diego because that is the world's largest military community, believe it or not. But places like Fort Pierce or the other places we travel for
Beachfront.
fundraising, they don't have that contact with military folks, and they don't even know what to ask, right? So we kind of walk them through it. And I think the favorite thing I do is like immediately if mom and dad walk in with the young man or woman, I kick them out of the office and say, Mom, Dad, see ya. You're out. I want to talk one-on-one because I don't want them asking me questions for their kid, right? Because they're about to make a big decision, and I don't want either one of those two in there. Of course, they're going to have a part of it when it's time, but not when they're, asking questions and they want to do this and that. I'll do that separately for them, but not that really tells me whether the young person is ready. Whether, yeah, yeah,
Is when they're
yeah,
ready. When they're like, hey,
exactly.
what's up? Mom, Dad, I'll be right back. Yeah. Let
Yeah,
me talk to him. Yeah, I'll be right back. No, I'll be right back. You guys hang on. That young man. No, I feel you. And I remember when I went in through my recruiting through the Air Force, and I know, thanks for not holding that over on me. He said, this is your choice. You're choosing to do this. I'm not forcing you
and
to
that's the way
choose
it has
this.
to
You're
be.
choosing this. And that's like, that's right. I'm choosing this. Yep. You can't be forced, right? And that's what happened with, like, say, conscriptions and forced, service into a nation like, say, nothing wrong with South Korea, but you have forced military. Israel, you have forced military. Other countries, you have forced military. In America, we have the draft. We register for selective service as an 18-year-old man, right? And has that crossed over, do you
I
think,
know this is old school thinking, but
to
I
man
believe
and?
that mandatory service of some sort for the country is a good thing. It doesn't have to be the military; it can be something else. But I think the places I've gone that
Correct.
I've
Yeah.
seen this, I think they're better off for it because everybody has the same kind of knowledge base across the country, right? Because they've all served in some way, so they all have that connection.
Exactly. Like, look at Israel right now, right? They were having big protests before they were attacked about their government. And when the government realized
Yeah,
that everybody protesting them were all
exactly.
veterans, they're like,
Yeah, exactly.
wait,
Exactly.
who's protesting us?
Yeah. Yeah.
17 through 40-year-olds? Is that what you just
Exactly.
said? Okay. I mean, that's a real thing to think about, right? Because you have everybody all like-minded. They're like, hey, we've all, learned how to do certain things, march a certain way. Now, when you march to a certain drum, you learn these secrets of training and getting through it and just closing your eyes and be able to capture some sleep. So let me just jump into Hell Week with you, or something in Buds. How did you cope with the stresses that your instructors were specifically putting onto you, right? Which you've probably put onto others during training as that instructor. What is it that helps you close your eyes to get that, like,
I think,
combat wink
well,
out there?
BUDS instructors, that's Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Team instructors, are very good at what they do, and their main purpose in life is to get you to quit training because they want you to quit training and not combat, right? So they have very devious ways of playing with your mind that you have to figure out yourself. That's all it is a mind game, or else you will quit. And like I said, we lose 70% of our initial candidates anyway, so that's how effective they are. So I think once I figured out that
Mm-hmm.
they weren't going to take my birthday away, my mom still loved me, they weren't going to kill me,
Right.
supposedly. Then it just becomes a matter of grunting it out until that evolution is done. So I tell people it's kind of like being an alcoholic, right? You got to take one day at a time. But when you're at BUDS, it's like 1 minute at a time
Yep.
to make it through that evolution, and then you get ready for the next one, and then the next one. So that's kind of how it is. And if you start thinking about, oh man, I have months of this, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Was there somebody that stood out that was a teammate with you that went through with you
Yeah, I
that
think
helped pull you through
I
any
had some
tough
really good
spots that
friends,
you
and one of them
remember?
just passed. His name was Willie Hines. Really awesome SEAL. Way too smart to be a Navy SEAL, though. He basically got out of the Navy and became a
Right.
geneticist for agriculture company. So I'm like, anyway, this is the kind of guy that, but you can tell right away at Buds who the guys are probably going to make it and the ones that aren't, just by the way they handle themselves. They go the extra mile to take care of stuff, whether it be stupid stuff like cleaning your room to whatever, taking care of your equipment and not
Hmm.
blowing it off.
Wow. So you've been in for a minute, right? You were in
Yeah,
during
I
like
was
the
34. I did
70s through the
34 years, so
2000s. So you saw,
I was there for a lot of different things.
and you know what? I didn't even like read off your creds. We just jumped into Rick and Rad chatting about, what did you do? What were you doing at 16 years old? Let me just read some of Rick's some creds, some key features, if you don't mind. Let me brag about you for a little bit, okay? So our guest Rick today, Rick received the Silver Star for Valor during the Battle of Mogadishu, which is Black Hawk Down, which was made into a movie, etc. We've seen it. He served at SEAL Team 6 from 1985 through 2012, acting as sniper explosives expert, lead training chief, sniper team leader, and deputy operations officer. He is now chief operating officer of the National Navy UDT-SEAL Museum. Real quick about the author, though, I want to, because he's got his book, and I just want to read this blurb. It's great. You're great. Rick Kaiser served his country between 1979 and 2013 as a prominent member of SEAL Team 2 and SEAL Team 6. He received the Silver Star for his leadership in the Battle of Mogadishu, better known as Black Hawk Down. He continues to serve, as I mentioned, as the Chief Operating Officer of the National Navy UDT-SEAL Museum for both Fort Pierce, Florida, and San Diego, California, with the same resolve that made him effective in the teams. Rick lives with his wife, Barbara, in Vero Beach, Florida. And we got to give her a shout out because,
Yes, happy wife, happy life.
period,
You're
in the
right.
story. Exactly. And so you come to us with a lot of experience, world knowledge. I feel like you're almost dad to me. Like I
You call
see
me
you and
old? Is that what you're doing?
I just want to say thanks. No, I don't know. I was born in 77, Dad.
Yeah, I got to tell you
So,
military. I was 34 years of it. I do miss it. I miss aspects of it. I miss the teamwork. I miss the mission laser focus. I miss the guys.
mhm,
I'll never be in a team like that again. But I'm still serving as part of the museum because we do so much more than a museum, right? So a museum's a bunch of things, but our museum,
right.
we take care of our families. We have a memorial. We honor our fallen. We preserve our history and heritage. And basically, we are in a position now, especially to help the future of this country, because a lot of the things that we stand for, honor, courage, commitment, sacrifice, is not taught today in schools, and we're the last line of defense for any young person that wants to come learn about military service and what this country's all about.